I wish we were sitting across the room from each other, stitching and talking about life and things. It's been a long year. I'm an introvert, and I love how peaceful and quiet the year has been in the grand scheme of things. But I do miss dearly spending time with people in the Cross Stitch Nation. My buckets were full going into the pandemic because I was just coming off of market and spending a fantastic weekend with a whole bunch of you. But my buckets are empty now. We're all going to be so excited when we can start traveling and seeing each other again, aren't we? I am here. Should I introduce myself? I should introduce myself. My name is Beth Twist, and I am a cross-stitch designer. I've been doing this cross-stitch designing thing for 12 years plus, and I love it. I don't regret a second of it. It's a dream to have a job that I enjoy so much. And every once in a while I like to get on here and talk to you about what I'm working on and new things. I did a shorter video than usual last time, and I found it to be so much more relaxing for me. It was easier to edit, it was easier to upload. I didn't have so much to think about and distract me while I was videoing, because my brain is always trying to stay one step ahead of where I am right now, and it was nice. And so I'm thinking the trick to getting Beth to record more videos is maybe have them be shorter. So I only have like 2 things that I'm intentionally here to talk to you about today. So don't despair if this is a short video, because it just might mean I will be back sooner. And yes, glasses. Short story is, it was discovered that I had terrible eyesight when I was in 1st grade. I think that's the story for a lot of people who were most likely born with bad eyesight, is it was discovered in 1st grade or kindergarten. And one of my most vivid childhood memories is putting my glasses on for the first time, and how it was such a drastic change from the world that I was used to seeing, which was very blurry, to being able to see detail, that I still have that image in my mind. We were in a optical section in a pharmacy, I guess, and the waiting area was all plexiglassed. And this is the 70s we're talking about. I don't think I've seen an optical place like that since then. And I remember them handing me the glasses and saying, "Here, Bethy, put these on and see what you think." And turning around, and the end of the waiting area was lined up with this aisle that went, way down, and shelves full of little bottles and boxes of, it was like the medications and painkillers, I don't know, whatever you would get in a pharmacy. And so that image is burned in my mind of looking through the plexiglass down this aisle at all of the little details all the way to the end. And then the drive home, seeing that the actual leaves on the trees could be seen from a moving car. It wasn't just a blur. Anyway, fast forward to 14-year-old Beth. I got my contacts and was ready to say goodbye to glasses forever. What nobody told me at any point in time in the intervening 30 plus years was that wearing contacts all day every day for that long, even if they're soft contacts, will lead to dry eyes. And starting late last year, I was noticing my eyes were drier, more uncomfortable. I had to take my contacts out earlier in the day, and when I went in for my annual eye exam, would have been probably January or February this year, the optometrist actually commented on it, and she said, and I said, really? I kind of questioned her, and she said, no, you have chronic dry eye. She asked me how long I'd been wearing contacts, and I told her, and she's like, oh, well, yeah. So that was disappointing, because now I find I have to wear glasses more than I wear contacts. I save contacts for special occasions when I want to look the prettiest, because I still have that 14-year-old Beth in my head that thinks that I look way better without glasses on my face. But I found these cool clear frames that are big enough that I can put my super thick lenses in and they don't look like Coke bottle lenses. I buy the thinnest lenses possible for my prescription and then the most unnoticeable frames possible, and I'm happy. It's funny because we did our family picture recently, and as I was editing the photos, I was like, why does my face look so weird? And it's because I've gotten used to the glasses on my face again, I guess. And the other thing I've noticed is that when I wear my glasses, I don't see the age around my eyes as much. I look younger. So I'm starting to see that there might be an incentive to wearing them more often. So anyway, it's not exactly what you signed up for when you clicked on this video, but hopefully you enjoyed my ramble. So, two main things I'm here to talk about today. One, if you've watched any of my past videos for, I don't know, like the last year, you've heard me talk about wanting to do what I've been calling my small samplings club. And it's just been this idea in my head that I've been trying to nail down as to how I wanted it to play out. Basically, I have a collection of antique samplers that has been growing over the last 12 to 15 years or so. And there's a portion of them that are small, like dimensionally small, just very sweet, simple, true beginner schoolgirl samplers. And a couple times in the past, I've paired a couple of them together, even if they weren't like actually by the same person or even by sisters. They just sort of went together and charted them together and sold them as a set. But some of these are so small, I just didn't feel like they really warranted a regular general release. And so I've been trying to figure out how I wanted to do it. So what I settled on is I've already chosen the first 8 samplers. 4 of them have been charted and stitched. And what it will be is, it's not a club because there's no commitment to it. Basically, quarterly I will release a limited kit for whatever the next small sampler is in the collection. And I'm calling it my Small Samplings Collection. And I'm doing a limited kit because I'm hoping that this collection will appeal to people who have never stitched samplers before, but are maybe curious but don't want to take on a really big sampler for their first try. I'm hoping it will also appeal to people who love stitching samplers but maybe want a quick small sampler to throw in with their collection of big and beautiful samplers. So because I don't love kitting, but I do like the idea of offering the pattern with all of the materials necessary, especially right now when it can be really hard to come by some threads and some linens, or a lot of threads and linens, because 1, demand is high, and 2, our manufacturers of these items are having a hard time getting the materials they need. Everything from dyes to threads to fabric bases, everything is just, the whole pipeline is moving very sluggishly right now. So all of these different thoughts have finally come together, and how I'm going to do it is I will be making, like I said, a limited number of kits for each release, and it will be quarterly, and it's just going to be an open release. I will, when I list it in my shop, the first people to know will be those who have subscribed on my website to my email list. So if you want to be able to get a jump start on it, go to heartstringsamplery.com and scroll down to the bottom of the main page and just sign up to subscribe to the list. I don't email very often. It's usually, I think I've sent out maybe 3 emails now. The first was to announce that the website was live, and I've done it twice. The second one was to announce when I listed this kit. So anyway, once those kits sell out, it will no longer be available in any form. It's not going to be available in shops. However, bookmark that, because once I finish the first year, so every quarter there will be a new small sampler, I am going to take those 4 and 1 more and put them together in a book format, which will then be released at the next market. So if you have tons of fabric materials, etc., and don't want a kit, or if you prefer to buy directly from a shop, which please do that. If you don't know that you would necessarily stitch these, but you would love to have a book about these samplers, those are some great reasons to just hold off and wait. So the first book will be released not at the 2021 market, but at the 2022 market. Something to look forward to. Does that all make sense? I hope it makes sense. So it's not a club, even though I've called it a club in the previous. I thought about doing it that way, and I've decided against it. It's too much more administrative work on my end that I don't care to deal with. So, and by not making an absolutely limited edition, it opens it up to everybody. So if you miss out on the kit, it's just a matter of waiting. And I know, and you know, that you have plenty of other things to stitch in the meantime, and waiting a little while isn't going to hurt any of us. Just gives you time to tackle those other projects. So hopefully that all makes perfect sense. Feel free to reach out to me if it's not clear. So without further ado, I am going to introduce you to Esther Cannon. Now, Esther Cannon I found at a local antique mall, and it's not like the West Coast or the South here. Good antique samplers don't show up very often at all in the antique malls close to where I live. There's a lot of vintage stitched items. By vintage, I mean 1930s and after. Very rarely do I come across things from before then. So when I see an old sampler, I really have to look at it and decide if it's something I want to buy or not. And this one really struck me because she is so simple and sweet, and I love the primitive colors. I love that cursive alphabet, and the thing that really got my attention was the last name Cannon, because we have a famous, probably our most popular beach on the northern Oregon coast is called Cannon Beach, and I thought, oh, I wonder if I can trace who she is and if she'll be connected to whoever Cannon Beach was named after. So I went ahead and bought her. She wasn't that expensive. She's framed in this on this linen background. I don't really love the giant outer border on it. It has a note on the back. It just says Victorian Child's Sampler, Old Estate Sale, Ridgefield, Washington. That's all it has on the back. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, as soon as I got home, I typed in the name. I started researching Cannon Beach and immediately had to laugh because Cannon Beach did not get its name from a person named Cannon. It was from an actual cannon from a ship that washed ashore in a storm. So there was a cannon on the beach, so they named it Cannon Beach. Silly me. I don't have one single sampler in my collection that I can trace to an actual person. One of these days I will. One of these days. So anyway, so that takes that interesting note away from this darling sampler. But there are some really fun things to point out with Esther Cannon. One of them is that she does not use a capital J in her uppercase alphabet, or in this, oh, this is also uppercase, in her cursive alphabet or in her standard letters alphabet. There's no J. And also in her name Esther, the S looks like an F. And these are interesting things that can help to date a sampler. And I have more details written up in the pattern about what you can sort of deduce from those bits of missing or altered things in a sampler. I'm losing words today. Words are not coming to me today. So that's the antique. And this is the reproduction. And you'll see, I feel like I was able to match the linen pretty closely using a Picture This Plus called Ale. And the thread colors are also really close to the original, and they are both Weeks colors, Dirt Road and Juniper. So in the kit you'll get the full skeins of the threads, and you will get a piece of the fabric, and then this is the pattern. There's also a couple of extra little goodies that I've included in the kit, but I'm going to keep those as a fun surprise that you see when you open them. They're small, just little things, but little ways of saying thank you. I appreciate you buying this kit from me. Fun little stitchy things. So that's Esther Cannon, and I thought about showing you the next sampler in the series today, and I decided to let this video just be about Esther, who finished her or started her piece in July, and there's space over here on the left, and it's possible that at some point, here, let's see, let's look closer at this. It's possible, I can't tell from this, but sometimes they were called vanity samplers because you could tell that a young woman had unpicked the year, because if they left the year in, people might be able to tell what their age was. It's not just a modern thing that we don't like people knowing how old we are. It's apparently universal to women of all ages, or of all eras. I just turned 46. There you have it. The 40s have been good to me, and I'm happy. And you can't see it because of the color of my hair, but my hair in here and up in my crown is just chock full of grays. that I'm actually a little bit sad about the fact that they blend in as much as they do, because if I'm gonna be 46, I kind of want to look 46. But now when I get to be 65, I'll probably regret having said that, so you get it. Maybe you don't. I don't know. I kind of wish I had more to talk about. I don't do a lot of showing. I don't really do any showing of works in progress or finishes on this channel, because I do primarily, oh, well, let me finish that thought. I do easily 90% plus of my model stitching, and so there's no time left for me to stitch other designers' work. And I do collect their patterns and I do kit them up, and from time to time I'll stitch something small, but generally speaking, I don't show a finish until I am releasing a new design. Having said that, the entire series of samplers for the small samplings collection have been stitched by Karen Veers. Karen is someone who has stitched quite a few models for me, and Karen, I don't remember how many years back the first model you stitched for me goes. 2011 or 12? I think it might have been Victoria's Garden. Anyway, I forgot to make mention of Karen in the pattern this time, but I'll make amends on the next one. And so I thought I would mention her today, and then I almost forgot. So I appreciate Karen. I tend to, if they're my original designs, I really want to stitch the model myself. But if it's an antique reproduction, I feel a little differently about it. It's easier for me to hand it off because I know how the colors are going to look, because I'm matching colors on something that already exists. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm going to check these texts just live while you're here because, okay, it's not who I thought it was. I'm going to be doing family photos for a good friend of mine this afternoon while it's still sunny. And I don't want her to show up and have me still be filming upstairs and not know she's here. Okay. That was a little bit of a rabbit trail. I'm good at rabbit trails. I think people kind of like rabbit trails as long as you, in the end, make it back to where you started, and I don't always do that. So I can't, anyway, I was talking about why I don't really talk about what I'm working on, but I can kind of tell you what I'm working on. I just finished designing a Christmas sampler and a series of smalls for Christmas 2021. I, for years, struggled with stitching Christmas designs in the middle of summer when I really wasn't in the mood. I like to stitch in season, and I know a lot of you are the same way. You will stitch your Christmas designs during the Christmas season and then you put them away until the next year. You don't finish them. And I sort of by accident a couple years ago stumbled across the fact that, hey, I could design something when I'm feeling festive and stitch it during the Christmas season and just save it for the next year. Just because it's done doesn't mean I have to release it now. And it was so fun to not only be working on a model, but a model that was in season was really enjoyable. So it's sort of what I just do now. So I am really excited about this little series and the sampler for Christmas 2021. And the only downside in indulging myself in wanting to stitch in season is that then I have to wait to reveal it to you. But I thought I would share that excitement. So I waited until after Thanksgiving because that's sort of the rule in our household, and I started right in on stitching, and it's been a lot of fun. I also did the same thing for autumn this year. And so next August, I am going to be releasing a couple of antique sampler reproductions and an original, and it's sort of a seasonal original sampler, but I thought I would release some in August because then Sampler September is the next month, and maybe they can get added into your rotation. So this is going to be a little longer than I thought. So the other thing that I really wanted to talk to you about today is my charity chart for December. I did this last year and really loved the fact that it sort of gave me the month off, because what I did is I released a chart as a PDF only. It was my first time having an instant download PDF. Now it's sort of what I do in my website and in my Etsy shop. Because of COVID and not having mail pickup at my house, I have to go into town every time I mail packages. And so I was early this year decided to move to PDFs because it keeps my exposure and my family exposure to COVID at the minimum that we want it to be. But last year, I decided that for the month of December to take all of my charts out of my shop and only have one, and have that one be in there for just the month of December, and all of the proceeds after I paid fees went to a local charity. And I'm going to be giving the proceeds to the same charity again this year. Last year it was Whip It Good. Excuse me one moment. Forgot to grab this. Good thing it was right behind me. So last year it was Whip It Good, which by the way is now available as a general release. You can order it from your local needlework shop, or you can get it as a PDF in my Etsy shop. And it was just a fun thing that came together. Sort of a tribute to the 80s and also to filet crochet lace, and there's all kinds of stitching motifs in there. That's Whip It Good. That was from last year's charity chart. This year I'll be doing the same thing. The local charity that it will benefit is called Outgrowing Hunger, and we brought in enough last year to sponsor 12 families. This local nonprofit is a gardening, farming. It provides land to people who don't have land to grow. And as a side note, it wasn't specifically targeted at refugee families, but that's primarily who uses it. So my friend who started this nonprofit now has families from, I wish I could remember how many countries. They're from all over the world that have somehow landed in the Portland metro area and who are just desperate for somewhere to grow. Often they're some native fruits and vegetables that they can't find here, or maybe they're an essential part of their diet because of their religion or just traditions of their culture. And sometimes these people really don't have much income at all and are just subsisting, and this is able to give them some fresh, healthy, nutritious food in their diets. There is a fee for them to have this land, but it's It's not much, and they are in turn able to sell, their excess produce if they want. And there's all called. I just realized that the recording had stopped, and I'm not sure where I was cut off. Anyway, I believe strongly in what this organization does by giving people the opportunity to grow their own food. I have the link below, so you can go check them out. Anyway, you ready to see the chart for this year? It's a sister to the last one. This I give you. Hoop, there it is. You can see a little embroidery hoop, a couple of chairs, there's scissors and spools of thread, and it's stitched on the lovely Weeks Dye Works Aztec Red. This one is on Weeks Dye Works Dove. There they are side by side. The great thing about this design is because it's monochromatic, you can stitch it in any colorway you want. You can stitch it on any color of linen. You can make the linen plain and the stitching vibrant colors, or you can do it, you can interpret it however you want. I wanted to put white on red this time, and so that's what I did. So this is not available yet. On December 1st, you will be able to find it on both my website, shop, heartstringsamplery.com. If you go to heartstringsamplery.com, you'll have to look at the top and find the word shop and click on it to go to my shop. It will also be in my Etsy, and I will be taking everything else out of my shop, including Esther Cannon, if there are any kits left at the end of this month, which there might be. I tried to make a limited number, but enough that would satisfy those who want it. I'll be taking everything out except for the PDF for this chart, so that all of my profit for the month of December truly is donated to charity. It feels good to me. If you're desperate for some reason for one of my charts and usually come to me for them, this is a great opportunity to find a shop to support. I do have on my website, one of my pages is just this fun little wheel that you can spin. It's called Spin the LNS Wheel, and it has on it a whole bunch of shops. And if you don't see your favorite shop on that list, the reason why is that they have not signed up for my automatic shipment list. It's the only reason. I can't put every single shop in the whole world on my wheel. And so I have chosen to put on there the shops that are trusting me with an automatic shipment every month. So that also means that they should have a pretty good selection of my designs available. Anyway, during the month of December, if you want one of my charts, go to one of those shops. If they don't have it on hand, they can order it from me during the month of December, and I will ship it very quickly to them, and you can still get it hopefully in time for gift giving, unless you're a last minute shopper. Because I will continue to work with shops and the distributor through the month of December, I'm just cutting off the retail end to give me a little break and hopefully send a little bit of extra revenue to those shops that support me so nicely. Those of you who do FlossTube, do you just as you're talking, go, what in the world am I even saying? I don't feel like I'm very eloquent on here, so that's why I keep saying, does that make sense? Does that make sense? I am much better in print than I am live and in person. Sometimes I jumble up my words. Anyway, hoop, there it is. I hope you like my combination of humor and design. I'm trying to think, I would like to do a third in this series, but it has to have the same element of retro song, or it could be a modern song, but it has to have, you know, a stitchy reference in it, like whip or hoop, that I can play with. And I am not thinking of any. So if you're a music aficionado and you can think of a fun, playful, like post 1980s song that has a short enough title that it would fit in there and also references a stitching item, please let me know. If you suggest one and I use it, I'll give you the whole series of charts for free. How's that? Or maybe I'll come up with some other way to say thank you, because I don't have a hard time coming up with titles and words and such to use in designs, and this one I am scratching my head, and I've been not like seriously searching the internet, but it's always in the running list of things in the back of my mind for like 2 years. Ever since I came up with Whip It Good, Hoop There It Is was the idea that came right after that, like immediately on its tails, and then I stopped. And for some reason I think a series of 3 is better than a series of 2. Anyway, I do believe that's all that I have to talk about today. So without further ado, I am just going to wish you well, and I hope that as we enter this holiday season that you are finding plenty of peace and joy and sparkle in your world. And if you're having a hard time with that, you're not alone. And I just encourage you to try to focus in on something. For me this year, it is Advent. Advent as in not like an Advent calendar, but Advent as it is celebrated and has been for generations in the church. For those of you who aren't familiar with Advent, it's just a very contemplative, thoughtful approach to Christmas. Each week has a theme. This week's theme happens to be hope. And it's all centered around the story of Jesus's birth, and it culminates in Christmas Day with the lighting of the final candle. And it's just a very thoughtful, non-commercialized approach to Christmas that I find very refreshing. It's very nice to have a moment of calm inserted into what otherwise can often be hectic. It's going to be different Christmas this year. We will likely not gather with family. We're trying to be creative about how we can celebrate the holidays without all being together in a closed house. It gets very cold here in the winter. It's not like up north further, but it's very damp and chilly here, and so outdoor stuff in the winter time is difficult. That was a much longer goodbye than I intended. Anyway, I hope that you are finding sparkle and joy, and I will hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye. I forgot to say, stick around a little bit longer if you want to watch some video clips that I've taken in the last few weeks.